Do you believe when he says something is evil, good, or bad, do you think he's appealing to some kind of like fundamental, natural moral force, something supernatural, divine, something otherworldly? Or do you think he's doing this kind of utilitarian subjectivism, where he's only saying it's evil from his perspective? Well, so when he
need
says,
to provide an example of something he said invoking specifically the metaphysical.
Well, he talks about the metaphysical all the time when he talks about order, chaos, and the dragon and stuff. He's using these concepts to kind of refer to the broad moral value of certain types of I mean, literally like good and evil, the framing between these things. When he talks about that, what do you think he's saying? Like when he says something is evil, what do you think he means?
I don't know. What's an example of something he said is evil?
I mean, I could go to his Twitter account. He uses the word pretty often, right?
Well, I believe he's also, I won't say it, but he said some very stupid shit on Twitter. Like
sure, well, let's say
give
transgender children, children taking hormone blockers. So he says that's evil. What does he mean when he says that?
I think what he means when he's talking about trans children, he's specifically referring to gender reassignment surgery and double mastectomies being performed on like 13-year-olds by physicians who have a financial incentive. And when he says that's evil, I think that's self-evident why that's evil.
Well,
Just
we're loading
it's self-evident why someone abusing a child for profit is evil.
Well, we're loading a lot here. So a surgeon is a job. So if they're doing the job, they're doing it with a profit motive. But he has not specifically said, like you said himself, he is denouncing the right for adults to pursue gender-affirming surgery, which means
he said he wasn't sure whether or not it should be illegal.
Okay, well, even you took time to call out that behavior of his, so we agree then that he has
specify what he said.
A bugbear with the issue of access to trans. But let's say specifically like
13-year-olds getting their breasts cut off.
Okay, so let's say like a 16-year-old trans chick is getting hormone blockers, which is the thing that can happen. You can do that. It's possible. In such a case, when he says this is evil, and he has said stuff like that is evil, not just 13-year-old double mastectomy, whatever, but he's applied the term there as well. Didn't he go after Elliot Page, who was in his 20s, saying that it was maybe morally wrong for a public figure to be trans because it could like corrupt the values of people broadly?
No, he said he would have left Elliot Page alone had she not like made it a big deal and flaunted it. And his argument was,
he's a celebrity. Why would he not? He made one tweet about it.
How many people did Elliot Page convince to pursue gender surgery than they otherwise might not have because of her? Which, it's like, again, I think that was a rage tweet, but let's stick with the argument of 13-year-olds. We know for a fact, it's not disputed. I could pull up the studies right now from the Journal of the American Medical Association that 13-year-olds are having their breasts cut off, double mastectomies, and then followed up with 6 months to 2 years later, and it's considered a success. So Jordan Peterson says that's evil. To me, that's self-evident.
I don't think I've actually ever heard a story of a 13-year-old getting a double mastectomy. I'm sure you could find some cases, but we would be talking maybe like single digits for that age. That's really far down. Why at that age? Why would you even get a double mastectomy when you're still going to experience breast growth? That's kind of weird.
There's a number of weird things going on. But hold on, to say it's a small, first off, it may be a small number, but to say it's a small number doesn't eliminate the moral weight or severity of it.
Then why are we talking about like such an incredibly small minority of like why can't we just say like so?
Well, that's the response that conservatives say when why are we talking about police shooting unarmed black men when only about 20 unarmed black men are killed per year?
Because we're talking about a broader systemic issue.
Exactly. That's why we're talking about the 13-year-old double mastectomy.
Okay, but what we're really trying to talk about is what Jordan Peterson means when he says evil. So you say it's self-evidently evil that happens. What do you mean when you say evil?
I mean the same thing when I say someone abusing a child is evil. I don't feel like I need to explain myself in that regard.
I'm asking you to explain yourself. What do you mean by evil? What does that term mean to you?
I don't know. When I say the Nazis gassing Jews in the Holocaust was evil, are you being serious right now in that you want me to explain that as if it's not obvious?
I want you to tell me what you mean when you say evil. What does the word evil mean? What system are you referring to when you say something is evil? What's the...
It's very, very bad. It should be avoided at all costs.
Okay, but
that's what I mean by evil.
Right, but why? Like what? So you say something is evil, so it's bad. Okay, but why? By what system?
By what system?
Like how do you know if something is evil?
how do I know that when Hitler rounded up the Jews and put them in gas chambers that was evil? I don't know. I get a funny feeling, I guess, when I hear that, and I think this sounds pretty evil to me. Do you understand? This is kind of a weird question.
No, it's actually essential. Without grounding where your morality comes from, it's almost impossible to talk about it.
I believe in maximizing good. What's Jordan Peterson's meme motto? Minimize unnecessary suffering. Jordan Peterson's a strict utilitarian in that regard. Then,
if he's a strict utilitarian, then it seems kind of odd that the stuff he says is good or bad all the time has very little to do with what's actually harmful. I mean, you want to denounce his Twitter behavior broadly, and I mean, he does come across as kind of a crank sometimes on it. But like the most prominent times that he's gotten in trouble on Twitter recently, where he randomly called a fat woman like ugly and said that authoritarian beauty standards wouldn't convince him otherwise.
Yes, I believe he said not beautiful, which was a mistake, and I literally made a video saying, actually, I think she's,
and he continued with it with the videos he made. And then he made a video with his daughter.
He's imperfect.
That's and there was the Elliot Page thing where he seems to adopt the position that it's morally wrong for a celebrity to be trans because other people might be trans because of it.
No, he's saying it's wrong to celebrate it, flaunt it, propagate it out to 13-year-old children who.
So don't overload it. Don't overload it. Elliot Page just took a picture. So Elliot Page is trans and just like took a selfie.
Sure.
Okay, so.
And his opinion, and I don't think he should have tweeted that about Elliot Page, but I'm explaining his thought process for going back to what's evil or not. His point is there appears to be a social epidemic of a lot of children in particular converting or undergoing gender therapy when it's not correct for them. The Tavistock Clinic, which is the biggest gender assignment clinic in the UK, was shut down. It's being sued by 1,000 families. Scandinavia, I have to double check on Scandinavia banning puberty blockers, but they've certainly recommended a wait and see approach, which is the opposite of the affirmative care model. There's over the next year, and they're wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Over the next year or two, there's going to be numerous stories, and I've talked to people already who've been in this position of people who thought they were transgender, underwent medical transition, and then regretted it. And it's because, well, the regret rate is 1%. That's what the studies say. If that was the case, you wouldn't have 1,000 families suing the Tavistock Clinic.
Yeah, you can.
So that there's the point, and to be fair, I'm asserting this, and you're asserting the opposite. We'd have to actually look at the studies.
We can look at the studies directly. Something like 98% of people don't regret their gender-related surgery and hormone treatments, which is a level of acceptance several times higher than that of hip surgery.
That's
the overwhelming majority of people who detransition as well, detransition due to running out of money or lack of social support. I think it's something like 70% in total. So we have like 98% are satisfied with their medical so-and-so. And then of the 2% remaining, a majority of those only detransitioned because of a lack of the resources or social care they needed to keep at it, leaving a very small minority of people lower than that of the regret rates of almost anything else. There's a reason why medical standards trend towards the affirmative care model. It's because it's the one with the most supportive data. The UK closed down those clinics, and the lawsuits are happening not because of medical research, but because of politics. That happened after a prolonged multi-year campaign of conservatives lying about the effectiveness of gender therapy and gender treatments. And what follows, you said Scandinavian, it's one of the Scandinavian countries, I don't remember which one, they did move to more of a wait-and-see model for puberty blockers, and the reason for that was in part the citation of the UK clinic shutting down. So all this suggests to me that this is politics. Sweden it is. It's politics at play, not medicine. So It seems to me like we're at kind of like an ethical impasse.
Can I respond to that?
Well, I just want to say, what Jordan Peterson is talking about, we were talking about the Nazis earlier, which I think is very apropos.
Hold on, before we move on, I want to address.
Hang on, Paul.
I just want to finish, and then I'll be done really quick.
Okay.
Jordan Peterson was saying that Elliot Page was a degenerate. The Nazi theory of degeneracy is one in which pervasive social harm and corruption, usually through liberal progressivism, is spread from person to person like a disease and has to be cut off at the root and burned out in order to eradicate entirely. That is what Jordan Peterson was saying. that Eliot was spreading degeneracy by promoting those elements of himself.
Okay. There's a couple things I want to say. First off, he never said degenerate. That never showed up in his vocabulary before.
Never said it, no.
Okay, so that was wrong. And everything else you said regarding the studies, I'm aware that that's the perspective that people have. That's 100% wrong. Those studies are as valid as the Lisa Littman study that suggests rapid onset gender dysphoria is a social contagion. So you can assert everything you said about the regret rate is 1%, the social transition rate, or the reason that people cite when they detransition is because of social regret. That is all 100% wrong. And
can you prove that?
This is an open challenge to you or anyone watching. I am more than happy to pull up the study. We can't do it in this debate because we didn't prepare for this ahead of time. We'll pull up the studies on screen, go through every single section of the study, and I am utterly confident, I could be wrong, but I am utterly confident that not a single person can defend any of the studies that are suggesting that imply any of the statistics that you just put forward. So we have to have a separate discussion for that, because it's just a he said, unless we pull up the studies. And
we can bring them up right now. A lot of these studies have thousands or even tens of thousands of respondents, whereas the study that you referred to, the one that talks about rapid onset dysphoria or whatever else, that was just polling a bunch of transphobic moms.
That's what. Okay, here's what I'll wrap this, because, and Andrew, let's have, whether it's you or whoever, let's have this discussion where we send the studies in advance and pull up ahead of time.
Then wait, just tell me why they're illegitimate then. If we don't want to go by it
for the same reasons, I went through the meta-analysis that I think Rose Rist put together some time ago, 50 Cornell studies. Every single one of them was as flawed as the Lisa Littman study. Okay, for the same reasons.
The Lisa Littman study was flawed because all they did was ask the parents who they found from transphobic online forums and developed a new social theory based on what they heard, complete hearsay from those people. Whereas the studies I'm referring to are meta-analyses of
individual studies that did the same thing.
Wait, no. We're talking about clinics reporting satisfaction rates from their clients. We're not asking
flawed studies. Wait, you gave an example why Lisa Littman's study is flawed, because
I just explained it to you. So you can't ask the moms of a social group that you want to target, especially if you're recruiting them from bigoted online sites. But
sure,
what I'm talking about...
Equally, hold on, let me respond to that exact point. Equally, if you're conducting a study that says the surgery was successful, you cannot have a sample selection bias of only the pro-trans websites. And that's exactly what every single study...
They're not...
Yes.
These weren't pulled from pro-trans websites.
They were
from... No, they weren't. They were from the patients at clinics. They were reports of satisfaction from the actual medical clinics where these people
those that stayed in the clinic. Many of them left and were never reported on. Hold on.
Wait, so wait, please, wait, hold on. No. I can't let you get away with this, okay?
You can finish this point.
The fact that you're comparing, so the Lisa Littman study, its own thing, we're talking about the same standard of analysis and medical accreditation that we would use for any kind of surgery or medical care satisfaction process. You have a certain number of people at a clinic, and they all get a certain treatment, and they report their satisfaction afterwards, and then you add those numbers together and you get results. We use that system for every kind of medical treatment. And now somehow, for this specific issue, it's an illegitimate way of ascertaining the regret rates? Well, based on what evidence? What's the issue with it?
So, I said...
So hang on. We need to tie this in somehow to the topic at hand, which is Jordan Peterson, and that's not where we're at. We've kind of gotten off into the weeds.
We need to move on from this subject.
So I'm not moving into save anybody, not save anybody, but we have gone way off into the weeds here. So Vaush, did you have a way to tie that into Jordan Peterson, or was that like kind of a standalone point, or what did you have in mind with that?
Well, if we're talking about morality, what we're talking about ultimately is like my thesis here is that Jordan Peterson's interpersonal advice is massively outweighed by the harm of his political positions. And if he's spreading essentially Nazi doctrine when it comes to transgender people and their medical care, and that people are believing that doctrine because they trust him on the 12 rules of life or whatever, I think that's a pretty strong case for overall harm.
Yeah, I mean, that's a valid point, Paul. So
sure.